You ask, it answers. You take it, you move on. And it feels fast, efficient, smart. And maybe it is. But something else happened in that exchange. Something you didn't notice. Because you didn't have to think, not even for a second. You didn't have to sit with the question, didn't have to feel where it might go, didn't have to go through the part where nothing is clear yet. You just got the answer. And then it happens again the next day and the day after, until one morning you're trying to write something, just for yourself, no AI open, no tool running, and you're sitting there. And it's slow, not because the idea is hard, because something that used to happen isn't happening the same way anymore. And you don't panic, you're not stuck, you're not confused. It just feels different. And that's the part almost no one notices.
Here's the part that's easy to miss. When you use AI to think for you, not to help you think, but to replace it entirely, something very specific starts to change. Not your knowledge, not your ability to learn, your tolerance for the unclear part. That moment before the answer exists, where the question is still open, where nothing is fully formed yet. That part, most people have started skipping it completely, and it doesn't feel like a loss. That's what makes it invisible. It feels like speed, like clarity, like you're ahead of everyone else still doing it the slow way. But that moment you've been skipping, that's not inefficiency. That's where thinking actually happens, not the answer, the part before it, the friction, the unresolved part. That's where something gets built. And when you remove it consistently, day after day, week after week, nothing breaks immediately. That's why it's hard to see, until one day the pause is longer than it used to be. Writing feels slower. Ideas that used to come don't come the same way anymore. And you tell yourself, I'm just tired, just distracted, just this week. It's not this week.
Before we begin, if you value quiet, thoughtful content like this, subscribing helps this channel grow and makes it possible to keep creating videos without noise or hype. Thank you for being here. Now, let's begin.
But there's another side to this. This isn't about AI being bad, and it's not about going back to doing everything manually. That's not the point. The point is something much more specific. There's a part of the thinking process that only works when you stay inside it, when you don't skip it, when you let it remain unresolved for a moment. Not because it's romantic, not because struggle is good for you, because that's the part where your thinking becomes yours. And the people who understand this don't use AI the same way. They don't start with it. They arrive with something first. And that difference is already starting to show. Try to remember the last time you wrote something before opening anything. No tool, no search, no prompt, just you and a blank page. And something started forming. Not clearly, not quickly, but it was moving. Now notice how rarely that happens, because there wasn't a moment where it stopped, it just shifted. The tool opened first, then the question, then the answer. And from the outside, it looks identical. Same output, same speed, maybe faster. But in one of those moments, you were still deciding, still pushing something forward. In the other, you handed it off before it became anything. And the output might be fine, it might even be good, but it's not yours in the same way. Not because AI touched it, because you never fully entered it. And that's the part that's changing. Not what people produce, what they're capable of when nothing is open. There's something different about this. This isn't distraction. Social media, notifications, those interrupt your thinking. This doesn't interrupt it. It removes the need for it. Because when something interrupts you, the thinking is still yours to do. You come back to it, you pick it up again. But when the answer just appears, there's nothing to return to. The loop closes before it ever begins. And it's happening in the exact moments that used to build something. The pause before you respond, the moment you're trying to figure out what you actually think, that space where an idea is just starting to form. Those moments are getting shorter, not because you're busier, because something is always there to complete them. And the more it completes them, the less you notice they were ever yours.
If this feels familiar so far, not as information, but as something you've been dealing with, we keep a growing collection of prompts, tools, and simple frameworks designed to help you think more clearly, start more easily, and work better in this environment. We add to it over time. Nothing overwhelming, just practical resources you can return to when you need them. If you want access, you will find it in the description. Now, let's continue.
There's something subtle about this. The people who aren't losing this, they're not using AI less. They're not going back to doing everything manually. They're not avoiding the tools. They just enter differently. They arrive with something first. Not a finished idea, not a perfect question, just the beginning of a direction. Something that's already theirs before anything else touches it. In that small difference, that one moment of staying inside it before handing it off, changes what comes out the other side. Not just the quality, what it does to them, because they're still part of it. You probably already do this in certain places. There are things you still think through fully, problems you sit with, decisions you don't hand off. Not because you decided to protect them, it just never felt right to. That instinct is still there. It didn't disappear. It just stopped showing up in as many places as it used to.
You didn't lose the instinct. You just stopped meeting it there.
If something in this is landing, there's something I put together that stays in that same space. Not a course, not a system, just something you can open while you're still inside it. It's in the description.
This is where it starts to matter. Most people using AI aren't getting worse because they're doing something wrong. They're getting worse because something is getting easier. And when something gets easier, you stop building the part of you that used to need it to be hard. Not all at once, just quietly. Over time, in small moments you didn't think to protect. But the people who don't lose this, they're not fighting the tools. They're not going back. They're just arriving first, before the tool opens, before the answer appears, before the loop closes. They stay inside it for one more moment than everyone else. In that moment, that's the whole difference. Not in what they produce, in what they're becoming. And the ones who notice this early don't just think differently. They end up somewhere else entirely.
If you made it this far, it means this topic matters to you. In the next video, we continue building on this with clearer understanding, practical perspective, and ideas you can actually use. Following the channel really helps us keep developing content like this and adding more resources over time. The next video continues from here. You can watch it now.